Welcome back. In the last lesson, we learned about comparison operators and how to compare two values to get a true or false result. In this lesson, we'll take that a step further by combining multiple comparisons using logical operators. Combining multiple comparisons with logical operators make your code smarter and allows for more complex decisions. Think about deciding whether you want to go on a picnic or not. You might check two conditions. The first condition is it sunny? And then the second condition is, do you have free time? If both conditions are true, then you go on the picnic. If either one of the conditions is false, then you don't go on the picnic. What we just did there is logical thinking, and computers also do logical thinking using logical operators. So, what are logical operators? Logical operators combine multiple conditions which are Boolean expressions into one logical statement. Python has three main logical operators, and they are AND, OR, and NOT. AND returns true if all conditions given to it are true. OR returns true if at least one condition is true. So if you have multiple conditions and you are using the OR logical operator, OR is going to return true if just one of those conditions are true. And then we have the NOT logical operator. NOT reverses the condition. If you give NOT a true condition, then it's going to turn it to false. If you give it a false condition, it's going to turn it to true. Alright, let's see these operators in action, these logical operators. So we are going to be starting with the AND operator. Just like I said, the AND operator returns true only if both conditions are true. If one of the conditions is false, then the result is going to be false. For example, let's say we want to print two conditions. So we have true and true. Okay. So true is a Boolean value. True is another Boolean value. So we are using the logical operator AND to combine these Boolean values. So if both conditions are true, AND is going to return true. So let's see what we have. So we have true. But if one of the conditions is false, okay, so we are going to have false. All right. So AND only returns true if all conditions are true. But if one of the conditions is false, AND is going to return false. Okay. So let's say we have false and false. Let's say we have false and false. False and false is going to return false. False and true. False and true is going to return false also. So it's only true and true. So it's only true and true that returns true with the AND logical operator. And we are not just limited to comparing two values like this. We can also use it with variables. So let's say we have a variable of is adult. Okay, let's say is adult is true. We can also have another variable of, let's say, as ID. So does the person have ID? Let's say it's also true. So we can now say print is adult and as ID. So it's going to compare both values. It's going to combine both values. Okay, so if we run this now, it's going to return true because is adult is true, as ID is also true. So it's going to return true. But if the adult does not have ID, let's say as ID is false, we are going to see false as a result. The next in line is the OR logical operator. The OR logical operator returns true if at least one condition is true. It only returns false if both or all conditions are false. Okay, so let's say we have, or let's print, okay, so let's say we have true or false. Okay, so in this condition, we are going to have true as a result because one of the conditions is true, or only need just one condition to be true to return true. So it returns false only if all the conditions are false. That's when it returns false. But if just one is true, it's going to return true. So true or false is going to return true. True or true is also going to return, let's see, we have true. Okay, false or true is also going to return true. Okay, so it only returns false if all the conditions are false. Okay, so that's all logical operator. We can also use this practically. Let's say we want to create a program. that only gives discounts to students and elderly people in the society. So we are going to use or to check if the person is either a student or a senior. So we can say, let's say we have a variable, let's say is, or let's say is student. Okay, we can say student is true. Okay, we can also check if the person is an elderly person, let's say is senior. So let's say senior, right? So let's say senior is false. So we can use the or logical operator to check if this person is eligible for discount, if the person is either a student or a senior. So we can say is student or is senior. So if any of the condition is true, then that means the person is eligible for discount. So if we run this now, what we have true, because this person is a student and the student is eligible for a discount. If the person is not a student, let's say false. If the person is not a student and the person is not a senior, it's not an elderly person, so that means the person is not eligible for discount. So that's how all logical operator works. It only returns false when all the conditions are false. Alright, so the last of the logical operators is the not logical operator. The not operator reverses the result of a condition. If a condition is true, not makes it false. And if a condition is false, not makes it true. So let's say we have a print statement, okay? So let's say we have a condition to be true. Now, if we apply not to it, if we apply not to this condition now, not is going to turn it to false, okay? So that is just the simple function of not. Not reverses a true condition to false, and it reverses a false condition to true. So if we run this now, we're going to see the results to be true. And this is not just for values directly. We can also have a variable. Let's call the variable is raining. Okay, you can say it's raining. Okay, so raining, let's say it's raining is false. Okay, so it's not raining presently. Now if we print a statement, let's comment this out. So if we comment that out, Python is not going to consider that line. Okay, so let's say not is raining. Okay, it's raining is currently false. Now we're saying not is raining. So it's going to turn the condition to true. Okay, so if we say it's raining is true, possibly it is raining at that moment. Okay, so we're going to run this now. What do we have? We have the results to be false. So the not logical operator reverses a condition, as simple as that. The examples we have so far compare conditions which are naturally Boolean. Logical operators become really powerful when combined with comparison operators. Let's try an example. Let's say you want to go to a cinema or maybe a club that allows only adult entrance. So we can write a program that checks the user's age and also if the user has entrance ticket. Alright, so let's say we have the age of the user to be, let's say, or we can say 20, right? Okay, we can also check if the person has ticket. Okay, has ticket. So we can say has ticket is true. Now we want to create a condition that check if the person will be allowed into the, let's say, cinema. Okay, so we can say is allowed. Okay, so is allowed is going to be if the person is an adult. That means if the person's age is greater than or equal to 18, right? And if the person has ticket, so we are checking if the person is an adult and if the person has a ticket to the cinema. Now let's print is allowed. Okay, so we have is allowed. We run this now. What do we have? We have true because the person is an adult. The age of the person is 20, which is greater than or equal to 18, and the person also has ticket. So if the person does not have ticket, okay, so we are going to have false, right? So in this expression now, we are using and. In this expression, we are using and to combine two Boolean expressions. So here we have a Boolean expression. Age is either greater than or equal to 18. And then here we have another Boolean value, which is as ticket. There are cases where you have complex conditions that may be confusing to understand. In such cases, you may need to use parentheses to group complex conditions for clarity. For example, okay, we have age to be 20 and we have house tickets to be false, all right? So we can also check if the person is a VIP. So if the person is a VIP, the person does not need to have tickets, because for a person to become a VIP, he or she must have satisfied certain conditions. So we can create another condition. Let's say is VIP. Okay, we can say is VIP is true. Okay, now our is allowed condition is going to change. So we can say is allowed, okay, is equal to, now we can say if the person age is greater than or equal to 18 and if the person has ticket. So if the person age is greater than or equal to 18 and the person has ticket, so that person will be allowed to the cinema. Or if the person is VIP. So either these two conditions are true or just this one condition is true. This one condition overrides these two conditions. So now in cases like this, to avoid confusion, we can use parentheses to group the related conditions together. So we can group this in a parenthesis. So this is going to serve as a condition on its own, and this is going to serve as a condition on its own. So it is either the person is an adult and the person has ticket, or the person is a VIP. This is how you use parentheses to create clarity when using multiple expressions. Okay, so in the next lesson, we build on this foundation of comparison and logical operators, and we are going to explore conditional statements, which are the key to decision making in Python. See you in the next lesson.